What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Tagliere, and we're here to talk some Week 8 fantasy football. Here to take your start sit questions as we have every single week. So hopefully you guys are returning. If you're new, welcome to the show. Typically at the beginning, what we try and do is go through some of the biggest injuries that are going to affect fantasy decisions throughout the day. We lightly hit on them because I don't want to waste too much time with that, just because, well, I mean, let's be real. You guys want to have your questions answered. You guys have probably seen the rankings already, but if you have not, for whatever reason, again, we will run through those and talk about the injuries. The biggest one, the news that we found out about yesterday, is that Drew Brees is going to play in this game. That's obviously big for a lot of people that maybe have been short in 2 quarterback leagues, whatever the case. I have him as a fringe quarterback 1 this week. I don't believe that he's like a must play. Obviously with Michael Thomas being matched up with Patrick Peterson, it's going to limit some of the output he has there. Jared Cook's out of the lineup. Alvin Kamara's out of the lineup. So yeah, those are 2 names that I should probably mention. Alvin Kamara and Jared Cook are both out this week. Other names that are out: Patrick Mahomes, he's not playing. I think everybody kind of knew that was going to be the case. David Johnson has been ruled out. They do play on Thursday night, and they're saying that he's probably not going to play that game either, that they're just going to give him kind of like a month rest, which is kind of crazy, which really stinks if you're in need of a win right now. Matt Ryan, not going to play this week. He has been ruled out. Matt Schaub will start in his place. Matt Schaub is a competent option for 2 quarterback leagues, super flex leagues, whatever the case is. Devontae Adams, he's listed as doubtful. He's not going to play. Get him out of lineups. Will Fuller, not going to play. He's probably going to miss. They're calling that one like 3 to 5 weeks. So it seems like Kenny Stills is going to walk into a big role there. So if you have Will Fuller, understand that you're probably not going to have him for a couple weeks. Sterling Shepard, still dealing with that concussion issue. He suffered 2 concussions this year. He's had some lingering symptoms, and they don't know when he's going to return. O.J. Howard, he is out with a hamstring injury. I mean, O.J. Howard, I was kind of one of those guys holding out hope for him, but I mean, it's time to cut bait. I mean, he's not even on the field coming out of their bye, which is worrisome. Again, Jared Cook is out. Alvin Kamara is out. Delaney Walker is not going to play in this game. If you need an emergency tight end, Jonnu Smith or Josh Hill, those guys can be viable options for you, particularly in DFS. If you're looking for a cheap tight end option, those guys are really cheap this week. Arizona has allowed massive performances to tight ends over and over and over again. The question is, do you want to trust Josh Hill? I don't really have an issue with it. I think Josh Hill might be a fine start, actually. Even in if you're streaming the tight end position, I would probably start Josh Hill as a top 12 tight end this week. Whereas Jonnu Smith, there's other guys on the team that can kind of take away some of those targets from him, where he's a little less appealing, but he's still appealing. Chris Herndon is also not going to play. Game time decisions, guys that we have to pay attention to, that we should hopefully get some word on as kind of like things break, during the show, and we'll try and get it to you as fast as possible. My producer is kind of listening in. He's going to give me notifications on the things that happen. Keenan Allen, he's a game time decision. Fortunately, this is a noon game, so we should know really soon. But some people are saying they don't expect him to play, but we'll see. I don't want to say that he's not playing. Christian Kirk is expected to play against the Saints this week. He's coming off, a 3-week absence, I think it is, 3 or 4. He's someone that's like a fringe wide receiver 3. He's in a great matchup against the Saints this week, who are really shorthanded at cornerback, but can we trust him coming off that multi-week injury? It's tough to say, but knowing he's back on the field, I would assume that you can as a wide receiver 3. And then Josh Jacobs, he's a guy that he was limited in practice. He missed some practice with a shoulder injury that he suffered last week. They're calling him a game time decision, but he is expected to play. So that's where I just want to let you guys know about the injury situation and where we are with all that, and then kind of get into all of your questions. So again, thank you guys so much for showing up. Really appreciate it. If you can do me a favor, like a big favor, go down, click that like button. Lets you know that you guys like the show. I mean, basically, we want to make sure that this is something that we keep doing in the future. And as long as you guys keep showing up, bringing friends in, inviting league mates, whatever the case may be. Maybe you play DFS with a bunch of buddies, whatever the case is. Invite them into the show. The more that we grow this, the more we're able to do, the more time we have to do stuff like that. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Definitely appreciate it. So as a reminder, before I get into the questions, I always forget to tell you guys this, is that narrow your questions down. I can't set the whole lineup. Narrow your questions down to 3 players or less, just because I want to get to as many as I possibly can, and that'll help me do that. And I legit grab questions wherever I can. It's totally random, so if I don't answer yours, I'm sorry, but I'm going to try and do my best to get to everyone. And if you haven't, for whatever reason, read the primer comes out every Thursday. I have a paragraph on every player from every game. So Dan, we're going to start with you. Dan, PPR, Matt Breida, Preston Williams, or A.J. Brown? I'm probably going to go Matt Breida here. It's just the guaranteed touches with the running back position. Matt Breida, as long as he's in the lineup and he's on the field, staying healthy, not suffering a head injury that he's being evaluated for a concussion, he's going to get in between 13 and 17 touches. They've capped his touches, especially obviously with Tevin Coleman back in the lineup, but he's been locked into that role, right? And if you're getting 13 to 17 touches, you're worthwhile even in, I don't want to say that Carolina's a brutal matchup. It's not. It's a tough matchup, but it's not brutal. A.J. Brown is someone I do like, but I'm not going to play him knowing that he's the second wide receiver on that Titans team. Justin S. tags, please help Kyler Murray or Jared Goff standard. So I have Jared Goff higher. And the reason I have Jared Goff higher is, the matchup against the Bengals, we really just can't overlook how good that's been for fantasy quarterbacks. Like, you have a floor, you have a ceiling. That's the dream option, right? I don't like Jared Cook as a quarterback in fantasy football right now, but this matchup has just been too good to pass up. Like, looking through it, I want to say that the numbers still hold true, that the Bengals have no quarterback has finished outside the top 16 against them. Every quarterback has finished with at least 16 fantasy points. Meanwhile, and that includes guys, Mason Rudolph did it, Gardner Minshew, Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, they've allowed a lot of fantasy points to quarterbacks. They're without two of their starting cornerbacks for this game. It's in London. The question is, and it's a really interesting dynamic, right, is that Sean McVay playing against Zach Taylor. These two, Zach Taylor obviously came from under McVay, and you have to wonder if they know their defense is better than anybody else, or the offense is better than anybody else would, and be prepared for that, or it could work vice versa. You know what I mean? They change up things to exploit what the other one doesn't know. But it's an interesting dynamic. Kyler Murray coming off the worst game as a pro. The Saints have been a tough matchup. I mean, they've been getting better and better on defense. Now, the really interesting thing with them is that they're now missing their starting slot cornerback. They're missing their backup cornerback so P.J. Williams is on a 2-game suspension. Patrick Robinson got hurt last week. So now it's really testing their depth, and the Arizona Cardinals do that well. Kyler Murray might present a higher ceiling in this game. This is so tough. It's like I'm talking myself through this because sometimes these players are right next to each other in the rankings, and I think they are. I think I have him as number 5 and number 6 quarterbacks. Goff is probably safer, but Kyler Murray probably has the higher upside here, especially with Drew Brees playing, which should help the upside for someone like Kyler Murray. And it's also good to know that we got Christian Kirk seemingly going to be active for the game. All right, let's see. Full PPR flex, Chubb or Crowder. I'm scared of the Pats D. Oh, play Chubb, man. So Nick Chubb, yes, the matchup is tough, guys, but you don't ever sit somebody that's getting 20 touches a game. You don't do it. Beasley, Kiki, QT, or Curtis Samuel, pick one. Beasley's matchup is not great this week. I know some people have thought it is, but Philadelphia has been actually pretty good against slot receivers. They're getting a little bit healthier there. The wind, they're expecting 35 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts in Buffalo today. And that's obviously concerning for a passing game. Beasley is the one who wouldn't take the biggest hit. But again, the pass attempts should be limited there. Curtis Samuel, really tough matchup against San Francisco. With where Samuel lines up, he's going to see a lot of Richard Sherman. And then Kiki QT, the matchup is fantastic. You don't get a better matchup than in the slot against Oakland. Oakland is trotting out LaMarcus Joyner in the slot. He's a guy that played safety with the Rams, and now they've converted him to a slot cornerback, and it's gone really, really bad. He's been terrible in coverage. So I probably would play QT personally. If it was my fantasy team, I think Beasley probably offers the highest floor, but I think I'd play QT. I think that to get a little bit higher of a ceiling potentially, I think I'll take the slightly lower floor with QT. Derek asks, good morning. Chase Edmonds or Latavius Murray, standard flex. I'm playing Latavius Murray, guys. So Chase Edmonds, he's going to be a workhorse again, right? That's the appeal. And I've moved him up in my running backs. I think I have him as RB15 right now. But Latavius I have as a top 12 play at the running back position. Again, this is a guy that plays behind a really, really good offensive line. You now have Drew Brees under center, so there's going to be more scoring opportunities for the offense. Brees does check down to his running backs quite often. Latavius Murray, again, they're going into their bye week. They are not going to be afraid to give him 20-plus touches in this game against Arizona. And some people have said that Arizona is not a good matchup for running backs, and they haven't allowed big performances. I think part of that is dictated by the fact that their secondary was so beatable, and it was just more about game planning and saying we're going to attack that secondary. Whereas now you might see teams go more towards the run with Patrick Peterson back. So I'm all about Latavius Murray. I would play him again this week. I'm not really concerned about him. Let's see. Scott asked, Brown versus the wind or Boyd versus Ramsey? So we don't know if Ramsey's going to shadow Tyler Boyd, though, because Boyd does play in the slot on over half of his snaps, and that typically, like Jalen Ramsey, like he would go into the slot with Jacksonville if he's shadowing opposing number ones. It's just there's some really there's like a lot of question marks. I would personally play Boyd at the chance that, again, that he doesn't get shadowed because Auden Tate has been doing some work too. Erickson, it is what it is, but I don't know if he shadows in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to play Tyler Boyd here. I just feel like he's safer in a PPR format where John Brown, he was a guy that I had as a top 15 wide receiver play this week, and I've moved him back now that these wind gusts are coming up because he's not really a guy he's not a possession style receiver, right? He has been getting a lot of targets. He's been getting a lot of air yards, but if that wind's howling around, it's going to be very difficult to get the ball down the field, and that's somewhere that Josh Allen has kind of struggled with his accuracy this year. So I would probably go with Boyd considering this wind. It would have been Brown, but I think I have to go Boyd. Alexander asks, Sony Michel or Chase Edmonds? Why? Rankings say Edmonds, but the matchup is so bad. It is bad, but Sony Michel has also been very, very bad. The reason that I would play Edmonds here is just because I think there's a safer floor in terms of what he's going to offer you through the air. He's going to get 20 touches in this game. Sony Michel, I mean, he had a drop last week. He's been a guy that's been targeted a couple times in the passing game as of late, where he doesn't look like he's playing with very much confidence right now. He's not doing much. He's only getting what's blocked. And they had Damian Harris active last week. I don't know if Burkhead's going to be active anytime soon, but like they're involving Brandon Bolden. James White is going to get some touchdown. He's well overdue for some positive touchdown regression. So there's like a lot of reasons that Sony Michel is a little bit down in the rankings. It's not to say that it's a bad matchup. I think it's a good matchup against the Browns, and he's a type that could score 2 touchdowns for sure. But the floor, understand that it's like, 50 to 70 yards and no touchdowns, and that's a little worrisome. I'd play Chase Edmonds personally, but I understand why some people would say Sony Michel. Chuck asked OBJ or Brandon Cooks. I mean, so as much as we are worried about Odell Beckham, if they play man coverage, he can beat Stephon Gilmore. Like, that's not something that, like, there's no cornerback in the league, as far as I'm concerned, that can hang with OBJ one-on-one. Now, does Bill Belichick do more than that? It's very possible that he does. But at the same time, Brandon Cooks is a guy that the matchup is fantastic against Cincinnati. Like, if this was last year, I think people would rank Brandon Cooks as a top 8 play this week. But the problem is that he hasn't been very involved. And, they're going to those targets over the middle field a lot more, like, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Gerald Everett. And, they're just not taking very many shots down the field. Do they do that? That's the concerning part. I think Cooks has the higher ceiling here for sure, but I'd probably play Odell. I mean, that's just because Cooks hasn't been himself either. I don't want to say Cooks hasn't been himself, because he has. It's been more about Jared Goff. So I'd go Odell there and hope for the best. And also Carlos Hyde or Austin Eckler. If it's a PPR format, I'd play Eckler. If it's standard, I might play Hyde. Be close. Paco, good day, Tags. Good day. Thanks for the advice. Oh, thanks, Paco. Appreciate that, man. I know not a lot of people don't ask a question, but I appreciate that, dude. Starscream, Minshew or Tannehill? I have Tannehill. So in a lot of leagues where I stream quarterbacks, I went and I picked up Ryan Tannehill, and Minshew's available in a lot of those leagues too. So I had that choice. I have Ryan Tannehill as a top, I think number 10 quarterback play this week, maybe 11. But basically he's in the QB1 conversation. They're not going to be able to run the ball against the Bucs. I mean, the Bucs run defense has allowed 2.7 yards per carry on the year, and that's despite playing Christian McCaffrey twice. They played Ezekiel Elliott. Like, they've had very, very, very good competition, and the Bucs have stopped them every step of the way. So I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball very much. So I think they're going to be able to have to move it through the air, and Tampa Bay secondary is obviously very weak. So I'd go Tannehill. Bill asks, Ty Johnson or Joe Mixon? Ty Johnson. Mixon, in a game that they're projected to lose by double digits, that's a problem, right? And that's a problem because Joe Mixon is not running very many pass routes. So if they're in a blowout, they're not going to be running the football. And if he's not running very many routes, where is he being used? He's not. And that's why we've seen such a bad floor with Joe Mixon. I think I have him at RB29 this week, whereas Ty Johnson might be sharing somewhat of a workload in this game. But at the same time, we know that he's locked into 15 plus touches. The matchup is not a bad one. I'd go Ty Johnson here. I have him as like a low-end RB2 that I would trust over Mixon. Let's see. Wide receiver 3, Kirk or Watkins, half PPR. So both of these players coming off multi-week injury. I'm going Christian Kirk here. The matchup is just too good for me to pass up against New Orleans. Again, there's risk with both of them, but knowing that Sammy Watkins isn't playing with Patrick Mahomes, that's like enough to say, oh, okay, I'm going to stay away from him. And on top of that, Watkins has been a guy that's like legit come back from injuries, and then he gets re-injured, and it's like, why did I do this to myself again? That's how you feel. So I'd go Kirk. They're both risky, but Kirk. All right, Teach J, start 2, Tevin Coleman, Josh Jacobs, Edmonds, PPR. Love y'all. Love you too, man. All right, so I'm going to play the 2 guys that I know are healthy here, because Jacobs is not like, I don't even think Jacobs is like a phenomenal play, because here's the thing. If Houston blows them out, like kind of most people expect them to, if that happens, Josh Jacobs, they could say he's dinged up. Let's just give Jalen Richard a little bit of work. Let's give DeAndre Washington some work. They've been giving Washington work anyways. So it's very possible that they kind of just take it easy on Jacobs this week, knowing that he's been limited in practice throughout the week with that shoulder injury. It's not a great matchup against Houston, but Edmonds against New Orleans, not a good matchup, but 20 touches, that's always appealing. And then Tevin Coleman, I'd go Tevin Coleman and Edmonds there and sit Jacobs. AK, oh, sorry, it totally skipped over. I'm sorry. Sometimes it does that. Well, let's see. Raven asks, would you start Keenan Allen if he's active? I mean, yeah, I think you have to. It's really tough, right? Like, I don't want to sit here and say that he's like a must play, but it's probably unlikely that you have options in your lineup that are going to be better options. But understand that when you start someone that's a game time decision with a hamstring injury, it's ugly. I mean, we saw it with Sammy Watkins not long ago, where people were really obviously concerned about it, and then he goes out there in the first drive of the game, he gets hurt, re-injures it, pulls him from the game. So if there's any tweak, he's going to be pulled. So there's a lot of risk involved in him. It just depends on who you're choosing him over. Laura asks, half PPR, pick 2, Latavius, Chase Edmonds, John Brown. This one's really easy for me considering the wins that are going on in Buffalo. Again, if you guys have not heard, in Buffalo, that game with the Eagles and the Bills, they're expected to have like 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, which is not obviously good for a passing game, especially a receiver that works down the field like John Brown does. Again, he's not a possession-style receiver, not going to rack up the catches, around the line of scrimmage. So he's moved down in my rankings as the week's gone on. Take the guaranteed touches with those 2 running backs. Blake asks, Zach Ertz or Gerald Everett? I'm going to play Zach Ertz. I mean, so thinking about it, Zach Ertz, again, if those wins are the way that they are, the possession-style receivers, those are the ones that are going to probably not lose so much value, and it's not like they're not going to throw the ball at all. So Ertz still leads the league in tight ends and targets. That's, there's production to follow at some point. But knowing that Alshon Jeffrey is going to be tied up with Tre'Davious White and that win situation with him, that's ugly. And it's like, look over the middle of the field for Ertz. I mean, it's not appealing, but I think I would go Ertz just considering the target volume and knowing that the Rams may not have to pass the ball a whole lot against Cincinnati. And Everett might end up with 3 targets because of that. You know what I mean? Omar asks, flex, full PPR, Juju, Chark, or Eckler. Okay, so if Keenan Allen is out, Eckler is going to move into that conversation for me. Like, Eckler would be the play. If Keenan Allen plays, I'm not as high on Eckler, so I'd have to go Juju or Chark. And I'm going to pull up my rankings on that one because that one's like really close. That's so tough. Like, I think I'm going to say, all right. So I'm pulling it up and I have Juju a couple spots higher. So I guess I would go with Juju there. The Dolphins have, been beaten in the slot quite a bit. And Xavier Howard, their top cornerback, doesn't even go there. Xavier Howard hasn't been very good this year anyways. But I'd play Juju and just, hope that Mason Rudolph gets on track with him. But again, if for whatever reason Keenan Allen misses the game, I'd probably play Austin Eckler and just take those touches. Half PPR, pick 2, Auden Tate, Mohamed Sanu, Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills is the one that's in there for sure. And I'm probably going to go with Auden Tate. We don't know how much Mohamed Sanu is going to be involved in the game plan this week. Again, he's only been with the team for a couple days, and Tom Brady hasn't developed that trust. Let's not pretend that Mohamed Sanu is Antonio Brown and can generate separation against any cornerback in the league. So, I mean, we've seen players eased into the Patriots before. So, I mean, I'm going to go with Kenny Stills and Tate. Sanu's like a wild card, but I just don't want to bet on him this week if I don't have to. So I'll go with Tate and Stills. Jay Montoro, hey, Mike, who should I start in standard, Brissett or Minshew? I have Minshew slightly higher. I don't like either of the matchups though. Like if Ryan Tannehill's available, I would play Tannehill. Juju or Woods, love your work, man. Well, I love you, and I thank you guys for supporting me. It means everything. Seriously, I wouldn't be here without it. In regards to Juju or Woods, I'm gonna go Juju here just because he is like I'll say the top target, and I'm putting that in parentheses because Deontay Johnson has been seeing targets too, but Juju is the number one. The Dolphins don't have anybody to cover him. Robert Woods, there's just so many names out there in LA. I don't want to say in LA, they're in London this week, but where Woods' production has suffered. And again, this matchup is good. I mean, there's nothing to worry about with Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, none of those guys, right? The only concern is that, the Rams want to walk out with a win, and they just do it by establishing that run game, getting the running back some touches. Goff only throws the ball 25 to 30 times, and it limits the production of the wide receivers. So I'd play Juju over Woods. Vincent asks, Carr or Mayfield? Carr for sure. Mayfield against New England. I mean, guys, New England, they've allowed one passing touchdown through 7 weeks. That's stupid. Like, there's going to be some regression in there. Like, they're going to come back to earth. And if for whatever reason, if you guys are listening to this, watching this, and you have the Patriots, see what you can get in a trade. Because I've seen some people trading like wide receiver 2s for the New England Patriots, and if you can get that done, I know they have a really good schedule actually, but again, defenses, there's a reason that we don't draft until the last round. There's so much variance at the position. You could pick up streamers, you can make it worth it. You can't do that with like running backs or wide receivers. Derek Carr is the one I would play. Carr's in a good matchup against Houston. Like that, I mean, he's probably going to get Tyrell Williams back this week, and that does help. But Houston is bad to begin with, and they're without one of their starting cornerbacks this game, maybe two. I'm not positive though. We just don't know the inactive list. Brian asked, Josh Allen or Minshew? I'd still play Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen does better when he doesn't throw the ball a whole lot. Like seriously, when he's forced to run the ball, and he might do that a little bit more in this game because of those win conditions. I'll just play Josh Allen. Again, Minshew hasn't looked very good lately, and the Jets have not allowed massive performances to quarterbacks, guys. Like it was something I came across, and I was really surprised because a lot of people are like telling me Minshew's a good play, and I was looking at it, and the Jets, I mean, they haven't allowed a quarterback to finish better than QB 12 all season long. So I mean, like you're talking about, it's been consistent in terms of like QB 12 to QB 19. That's where every quarterback has landed against them. So I mean, it's not a terrible matchup, but it's not a good one either. So and knowing that he hasn't looked very good lately. Let's see. Kenny Stills or Jeffrey and the flex half PPR. I would go with Kenny Stills, and that was actually before even the win came up because Tre'Davious White's really tough in coverage, and Alshon Jeffrey doesn't generate much separation. So it's like with Jeffrey, you're just hoping for a touchdown, and I just don't want to bet on that against Buffalo. So Kenny Stills would be my pick there. J-Chap, John Brown or Melvin Gordon? Melvin Gordon. The Chargers want to get Melvin Gordon going. I know they do, and they're getting back their starting left tackle this week, which should help Russell Okung. And John Brown in that wind tunnel. I'll take Melvin Gordon. Chubb or Mack full PPR. Whew, that's tough. Me personally, I have Marlon Mack ranked higher. I know some people, I think the consensus actually has Nick Chubb higher, but I would play Marlon Mack. I think this is a chance for Marlon Mack to have like one of those big games that it's like, oh, they get to run the ball 26 times against Denver. Denver has had their struggles against the run, but they've done really, really well against the pass. So it's like Marlon Mack should be like, he should be a stud this week, honestly. Mason Rudolph or Josh Allen? Oh, I'm still going to go Josh Allen, I think, there. Cowboy S. Good morning, Mike. Good morning. Let's see. Pick 2, half PPR. There's 4 there, dude. I'm sorry, Cowboy. Kirk S. Josh Allen, Tannehill, or Carr? I mean, I have Josh Allen ranked the highest right now, but I'm trying to figure out how much I'm going to move him down based on this wind, because he's not a guy that relies too much on. I mean, he doesn't have much accuracy down the field to begin with. He has a massive arm. Man, this is tough because I feel like all these guys are upside options. I have Allen ranked the highest right now, but it's very close between him and Tannehill. I have Tannehill at 10. I think I have Allen at 8. So I mean, that's tough. I'm sorry, Kirk. I wish I could offer more in terms of like what I would do, because that's like one of those decisions that's really, really tough with this wind situation, because Philadelphia, they do stuff the run. I don't anticipate the Bills running backs being able to do much of anything on the ground. So they're going to rely on Allen to move the ball. And I'm probably going to say Josh Allen. I'll stick with Josh Allen, I guess. Brandon asks, PPR flex, Brandon Cooks, I see TY and I think TY Hilton. Brandon Cooks, Ty Johnson, Kenny Stills. Let's take the guaranteed touches from Ty Johnson. I know that he doesn't come with the most upside of this group. He absolutely does not. But I would play him just because it's like the guaranteed touches. We saw what Chase Edmonds did against the Giants last week, right? Like we saw him walk in for 3 touchdowns essentially. They look terrible. And it's not to say that it may have been part of the game plan, dropping back so many in coverage because of the way that the Cardinals offense presents itself. But I mean, just the guaranteed touches, whereas Brandon Cooks is not guaranteed more than 4 targets. Kenny Stills walking into a starting role on the perimeter, somewhere he hasn't really played for the Texans. I know he walked in relief last week and he did well. I do like Cooks and Stills. It's just I can't say that I would play them over a running back that's locked into 15 touches. Kenny Stills or Christian Kirk, I'd play Stills. Both good matchups, but Stills might be even better, and he's not coming off of a multi-week injury. Let's see. Thoughts on Drew Brees today? Yeah, I have him as a borderline QB1. Like, if you tell me you want to start him over someone like Ryan Tannehill, I'm fine with that. But I wouldn't start him over some of the top-tier quarterbacks. Like, you're not starting... I mean, you probably don't have multiple quarterbacks in that range. But Brees, the reason that some people are going to like love Brees this week is they're going to look at Arizona and what they've allowed to quarterbacks this year, and they're going to be like, oh, wow, like we want to play him. We want to do this one. So the Arizona Cardinals were without Patrick Peterson, and we saw what the Jacksonville Jaguars can look like without Jalen Ramsey. So it's like, what difference a shutdown cornerback can do? And Patrick Peterson's going to be locked down to Michael Thomas this week. So it's like, that's the question, is like, how much do we want to trust Brees when his number one option is being kind of slowed down a little bit? When Alvin Kamara's out of the lineup, when Jared Cook's out of the lineup, it seems like it probably can be a good day, but it's probably not going to be a phenomenal day. So that's where I'm at with it. Goff or Rodgers? You know what's funny, Kyle, is that, I mean, I don't know why you have that question, but if you have both of them, I mean, maybe trade Jared Goff after this week because you could sell high because you don't want him. I was updating my ranks this morning, and I had Goff higher coming into today. And then I like looked at it, and like I always try and ask myself, like I say, if it were my team, like the way I do my rankings, I don't do it by projections. I know a lot of people out there are projections guys, and they're fantastic at what they do. But I always try and set my rankings as if I were telling you who I would start on my own team. And I don't think I could start Jared Goff over Aaron Rodgers with how bad Jared Goff has looked since week 12 of last year. Like, if you haven't seen what I'm talking about, go and check out the primer. You can kind of see where Jared Goff has, he's kind of fallen off, and he hasn't looked very good. So it's tough. All right, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee here and get back to some questions. Thank you guys again for popping in here. See, we got almost 4,000 people in here. Appreciate you guys showing up. Click that like button. Do me a favor if you guys are appreciating what I'm doing. And yeah, I'll get back to some more questions. All right, let's see. Philip asks, start Kyler Murray or Josh Allen? Bad weather? Yeah, I would play Kyler Murray knowing the weather situation. Allen was really close to Kyler Murray, but I would go with Kyler here. Morning tags. Good morning, Ryan. Full PPR, Gerald Everett or TJ Hawkinson? Thanks. I'd go with Everett, just knowing like what he's been meaning more and more to this offense, whereas TJ Hawkinson, I mean, what has it been? Since going back to like after week 1, he hasn't topped, I don't think he's reached like 35 yards in a game or 38 yards. I can't remember what the exact number is, but he has not racked up the yardage. And it's not to say that he can against the Giants. He absolutely can. It would actually kind of make sense. I actually like Hawkinson a little bit this week, but it's all about like how far down the pecking order is he in targets for a team that may not throw the ball a whole lot. There's similarities between these two options, but Gerald Everett has been proving it in his offense, whereas Hawkinson really has only done it 1 week. So I'm going to go with Everett here, even though I do like Hawkinson more than most this week. Need to replace Keenan. Curtis Samuel, Auden Tate, or A.J. Brown, PPR. I would play... I think I would go A.J. Brown here. That's where I think I would go. Auden Tate, it's a chance that he sees a lot of Jalen Ramsey in this game if Ramsey doesn't shadow Tyler Boyd. Curtis Samuel, going to see a lot of Richard Sherman. He's really a boomer bust option. I'd probably go with A.J. Brown here. Bing bong day. Michael Thomas or Juju? Yeah, you play Michael Thomas. You don't ever sit him. Like, you can't. I know that Peterson is going to take away some of his ceiling, but that's fine. They moved Thomas around too, and we don't know if they're going to allow Peterson to shadow into the slot. So Michael Thomas, yeah, you play him. Let's see. Sloppy Trudger, Sony Michel, or Julian Edelman based on weather. I mean, I really haven't seen anything in regards to into the Cleveland game where it's like really worrisome weather. That I mean, again, I don't know. I don't really follow weather reports too much. I don't let it affect my decision making unless we see something crazy like we're seeing in Buffalo. When there's 40-mile-an-hour winds, that's the stuff. Like go outside when it's a windy day and try and throw a football. It's terrible. So the wind will affect it more than rain will, more than snow will, unless, of course, it's Washington, San Francisco last week. But regardless, like if I'm looking at that, I would probably play Edelman. I just feel like the floor is higher with Julian Edelman than it is with Sony Michel. Like that's a weird thing to say. Billy S. half PPR, pick 1, D.D. Westbrook, A.J. Brown, Tyrell Williams. These are all in the same territory for me. Tyrell Williams has the best matchup for sure. I feel like Tyrell Williams is probably the one I would play personally because I think they all come with risk, right? Like A.J. Brown hasn't had a whole lot of big games. All right, so Keenan Allen just popped up. Keenan Allen is active for today's game, so that unfortunately hampers like some of the Austin Eckler love that some people wanted to go through. So that kind of stinks. But just so you guys know, that news just popped up. Let's see. But yeah, again, A.J. Brown, not like a consistent performer, the one that you rely on every single week. D.D. Westbrook dealing with an injury. I know he's going to play, but that matchup against the Jets has been pretty tough for slot receivers. Brian Poole's been really good. So I would probably go Tyrell Williams and just hope for the ceiling there. Gonzalo asked Devonta Freeman, Austin Eckler, Melvin Gordon, pick 2, PPR. Devonta Freeman's like locked in there for me. And then Eckler or Melvin Gordon in a PPR. In half PPR, I have Melvin Gordon. Knowing that Keenan Allen's going to play, I'm probably going to take Melvin Gordon. I'll probably go Freeman and Melvin Gordon here. Mocha Prides, trading Boyd for Ridley. Rate my trade. I mean, I'd probably want to look at schedules, and I never do that in advance because I kind of go week to week when it comes to that. There's other guys that work for FantasyPros that do look ahead at schedule, and I think that we have articles for guys to target in trades. But unlike the all even and pretending that they have even schedules, I'd probably go Tyler Boyd. I'd probably prefer Boyd, honestly. I do like Ridley's upside on a week-to-week basis, but Boyd's target floor is always going to be there. We don't know if A.J. Green is going to come back, if he's going to be traded. Like, it's so weird, right? They're saying that they won't trade him, but then why did they say he's out until after the trade deadline? Like, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. But I guess I'd take Boyd, considering he has more consistent targets. It's close, though. M. Sloan, the one-for-one trades are just all opinion-based. M. Sloan asked Minshew, Rudolph, or Jones. I think I might have Daniel Jones the highest. Yeah, I have Daniel Jones 2 spots higher than Mason Rudolph. I mean, I don't feel great about him because he hasn't looked good. I think this could be a Saquon Barkley heavy game, but it helps that Detroit is without Darius Slay, their best cornerback this game. Let's see. Eric asks Edelman or Ingram, PPR, heavy rain expected. So heavy rain expected. Now it makes sense for the Patriots game. I mean, that obviously does affect some things. But weather reports can be so bad. Like if it's says 100% chance that it's pouring, yeah, then I would fade the players in that game. But if it says like 40 or 50% chance, it's probably going to be off and on, which means they're going to be able to throw the ball. Again, it just depends on that weather report. If it's like really going to pour all game, then yeah, I'd probably go Ingram. Let's see. Standard, Chase Edmonds or Melvin Gordon. I'd probably go safe here and just play Chase Edmonds. That I think that they're right next to each other in my rankings, to be honest with you, because like when I was adjusting it this morning when David Johnson was ruled out, I kept moving Edmonds up, and I'm like, would I start him over this guy? Would I start him over this guy? And I moved him up, I think, to RB15, and Melvin Gordon's right in that range. But knowing that Austin Eckler is still involved, and if the Bears do jump out to a lead, which, again, it's weird. The Bears are 4-point favorites in that game, which is not good for, a road running back that's an underdog. So, like, that's obviously concerning. I think I just go Edmonds and take the guaranteed 20 touches. I mean, Gordon could have a big game because the Bears defense have allowed 5 rushing touchdowns over the last 2 games. But again, game script is going to dictate that. Let's see, full PPR, Keenan Allen or Marvin Jones. Hopkins is my wide receiver 1. Yeah, that's a situation where I would definitely consider benching Keenan Allen. Marvin Jones' matchup is good enough against the Giants where I'd probably play him and take that just because it's safer, right? I don't ever want to walk away from a matchup. Like, think about best case and worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is that Keenan Allen gets on the field. He re-injures his hamstring, and then you're like looking at it and like, oh my God, I knew it. I knew that I shouldn't have done it. And then like the flip side, it's like, if Keenan Allen goes off, are you going to be able to live with yourself? Yes, you would be like, I made the correct decision. But when you have Marvin Jones, a guy that should be a solid floor performer with a ceiling like Keenan Allen's in this week, I would play Marvin Jones. Hi tags from Czech Republic. What's going on? Please help me. Do I start Allen Robinson or Ty Johnson have PPR? So the Bears have talked about running the ball a lot this week. I still think that Allen Robinson's going to net 8 targets in this game. It's not a really tough matchup against the Chargers, but again, if they're going to go with that run heavy game plan, they don't want to throw the ball a whole lot. It does concern me a little bit. So I might go with Ty Johnson just to get the guaranteed touches in a good matchup against the Giants. You know, it's not a tough matchup by any means. We just don't know what the timeshare will be. It's close. It really is close, and that's a good question. Honestly, I'd be struggling with that myself, but I'll probably go with Ty Johnson. Chemo Kid, John Brown or Carlos Hyde, half point PPR. Thank you. I'm going to go with Hyde here, just considering that wind. Like, John Brown is one of the players where that wind is going to affect my decision. And the reason is just because the way that he's used in that offense and the way that the type of player that he is, that wind will affect him more than most players. So I'm probably just going to take Carlos Hyde in the guaranteed touches. But I should note that before this whole win scenario came up, it would have been John Brown. MVS or Fitzgerald? Thanks, Tags. Oh, thanks for the question. I would play Fitzgerald 100%. MVS has been he's had 9 targets over the last 3 weeks with Devontae Adams out of the lineup. He's not a must play. Fitzgerald is. Chase, as standard, need 3 running backs. Derrick Henry, Devonta Freeman, David Montgomery, LaShawn. Oh, geez. Chase, there's just too many things there, buddy. Try and narrow it down, and I will answer if I can. Tyrell Williams or Keenan Allen? That's a situation where I'm probably going to play Keenan Allen just because Tyrell Williams is coming off an injury, and he's a question mark as well, right? Like, we don't know how long he's going to last. That injury that he has, it could flare up and cause him to, miss the rest of the game too. So I'll play Keenan Allen. Let's see, start Mark Walton or Alshon. I think I have that exact decision in one of my leagues, and I really hated it because I looked at it and I'm like, am I really going to do this? But you might want to. Honestly, it could be like some garbage time work for Mark Walton. He's gotten 12 and 15 touches the last 2 weeks. Alshon had a game with massive win, and it wasn't a good matchup to begin with. So, yeah, I guess I would play Mark Walton. Chase Edmonds or Ty Johnson, full PPR. I would go Chase Edmonds. Edmonds isn't a tough matchup, granted. But, again, we don't know Ty Johnson's workload just yet. So, Jack Doyle and Paris Campbell, both active for this game. Okay, good to know. Doyle, I always thought he would. Campbell back on the field, but I don't know if he's really fantasy relevant just yet. Let's see. Hunter Henry or Austin Hooper, half PPR. I mean, is this a FanDuel question? Because if you have both these guys in your team, trade one of them, dude. That would be my advice there. I would play Austin Hooper. The matchup's better. Matt Schaub, if he gets into trouble, he could just latch on to a safety valve, and that's Austin Hooper. No, I mean, the thing is with Austin Hooper, the reason he's probably going to continue to produce like he does is because it's like you can't say we're going to try and, take this guy out of the game. 1, he's a tight end. That's difficult to do. And 2, you have Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley to worry about. So knowing that Mohamed Sanu is gone, a lot of those targets over the middle of the field are going to get funneled to him. We might even see Devonta Freeman more involved in the passing game. Good morning, Tags. Good morning. I was going to bench Keenan Allen for Marvin Jones. What do you think? Yep. Answered that one already. That exact one, actually. I would go Marvin Jones personally now. Hey, Tags. Keep up the good work. Thanks, man. Tevin Coleman or Chase Edmonds? That's a tough one. But this one I went with Edmonds, and this was as I was talking about this morning when I was going through, those running backs and moving Edmonds up. I ended up putting him over Tevin Coleman just because Chase Edmonds is not involved in a timeshare. He's going to be getting 20 touches. Tevin Coleman is, and if for whatever reason the Carolina Panthers slow that game down and they run the ball with Christian McCaffrey, they eat up the clock, whatever the case may be, there just might not be a whole lot of touches to go around between Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida. So he has a much lower floor, and that's what I'm looking for here. So I play Chase Edmonds. Good morning, Tags. Good morning, Guy. Start one wide receiver. Corey Davis, Robbie Anderson, Philip Dorsett. This one's Corey Davis for me. I like Corey Davis this week quite a bit. Robbie Anderson, if you have Robbie Anderson, there's some concern, right? And the concern is that the Jets have been shopping him. They're willing to trade him for the right price. And when you have a player like that, they could decide to keep him off the field for part of the game, like kind of just keep him healthy. If they're going to trade him, they need him healthy because nobody's going to trade for an injured player. Robbie Anderson, it's interesting, but because of that, I've lowered him down my rankings a bit. Philip Dorsett, if there's rain in that game that we're hearing about with New England, Cleveland, it's obviously concerning. Dorsett was kind of a boomer bust option, but Corey Davis, great matchup. Showed some chemistry with Ryan Tannehill last week, so I'd go Corey Davis. All right, that scrolled down 1 second. Oh, all right. Derek, Nick Chubb or Aaron Jones PPR? I'm going to go Aaron Jones. I'm not as worried about Nick Chubb as some people are. Some people are really concerned about the Patriots matchup, and it's a tough matchup. I'm not going to say it's not, but I would not bench Nick Chubb. But in that situation, if you're asking me one or the other, I'd play Aaron Jones, safer. Craig asked, full PPR, Chubb or Latavius? I have Latavius higher. Again, it's weird that you guys have now asked questions like this, but yeah, I have Latavius higher. I mean, it's not a bad matchup against Arizona as much as some people might think it is. He's locked into 20 touches with Alvin Kamara out of the lineup. Drew Brees is back. That means there could be more scoring opportunities for him, which is huge. Drew Brees has no issue checking down to his running backs. Nick Chubb, the offense is really struggling. He's been the bright spot, right? Like he's been the guy that Cleveland has kind of been able to rely on. But I don't. Yeah, if they fall behind, it's like, how much are they going to run the ball? This could be like a San Francisco type game for Nick Chubb. And while he did fine with his touches in that game, it's just limited scoring opportunities. So I'm going to go Latavius. Lucas asks, hey Tags, both these guys have tough matchups. Can you pick one? T.Y. Hilton or Tyler Boyd? I personally have Boyd a smidge higher, very small. They do have brutal matchup. Chris Harris Jr. is so good, but that's another question, right? The Broncos have already traded away Emmanuel Sanders, and now they're talking about potentially trading Chris Harris. Chris Harris Jr. is one of the better cornerbacks in the league. He's been fantastic at shadowing and shutting down opposing number one wide receivers. The Broncos as a whole have not been a team that you attack through the air. They really haven't. I think they've allowed 6 passing touchdowns through 7 games. Aaron Rodgers was included in that sample too. So, I mean, they've been a really tough matchup. I'm not a big T.Y. fan this game. I'll go with Boyd. It's just, I just feel like the target floor is higher, and even though it's a tough matchup, I'll go with him. Hey, Tags, full PPR, Jared Goff or Jameis Winston? I would go Jared Goff in that one. So while I've talked about that I don't really like Jared Goff so much as a fantasy quarterback, and I think that you should sell high after this game because he's had a few decent games just because of really, really good matchups. But Jameis is like the type that can literally bomb your team. I don't think you have to worry about that with Goff this week. Jameis does get a benefit this week against the Titans. They're going to be without Adoree Jackson, one of their starting cornerbacks, and that's going to be an upgrade for Godwin. It's going to be an upgrade for Mike Evans. So it's an upgrade for Jameis Winston. Dennis says, great job. Thank you. Keenan Allen or Robbie Anderson? Keenan Allen. Yep. I talked a lot about those guys already. Ivan asked Jimmy Graham or Eric Ebron in full PPR, considering that Doyle is questionable. Love the podcast and solid advice. I have Ebron higher in my rankings this week. So the reason that tight ends have done pretty well against the Chiefs this year hasn't been due to like because they're a good matchup. It's been because like there's been a lot of volume that's kind of been funneled to them, and it's because there's been a lot of shootouts against the Chiefs and a lot of pass attempts. Without Patrick Mahomes in the lineup, it's not going to be one of those games. Jimmy Graham hasn't been very efficient. It's kind of like a touchdown or bust. I know Eric Ebron is similar that way, but if there's one matchup on the field for the Colts, you know, that you want to take advantage of, it's probably the tight end position. So I'm going to go with Eric Ebron there. I just think he has a better shot at getting in the end zone with T.Y. Hilton being shadowed by Chris Harris. Is it possible to sit Odell for Kenny Stills? I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible. You can sit Odell for anybody you want. But would I do it? I don't think I could do it for Stills. There are some players that I'd be willing to do it. Like, I was looking at that earlier today because, like, again, I have to ask myself, you know, what's the realistic outcome? While Odell Beckham might not have a wide receiver 1 type game, you have to assume that he's going to produce some numbers, right? Like guys that I would consider starting over Beckham, DJ Chark, I would consider. Brandon Cooks, maybe. Robert Woods, Larry Fitzgerald. Those are borderline guys, right? Where I don't. I don't know, man. I'm kind of torn. So I'm sorry that I can't give you a better answer, but me personally, I would not sit Odell for Kenny Stills. He's still behind DeAndre Hopkins in that game. Is it possible that the Texans don't have to run the ball or don't have to pass the ball a whole lot? Yes, absolutely. Robbie Anderson or James White for flex? I'll say, Jeremy, you do not need to put that many question marks first off. And second, James White for sure. And then Breeze or Rudolph, I'd play Breeze. But calm down with the question marks. It's Shin J1. Hey, Mike. Hey, Shady McCoy or Marvin Jones, PPR. Thanks. Man, this one's tough. Marvin Jones is like, so many people want to like prop him up because he's coming off a big game, but he probably should have another big game here. Honestly, like the matchup, you couldn't ask for a better matchup because Galladay, if there's anybody that's going to get shadowed by Janoris Jenkins, it's going to be Galladay. And that could be another big game for Marvin Jones. Do I want to bet on it? I don't know. Shady McCoy against Green Bay. Green Bay really started out the year struggling against running backs, but they've turned it around over the last couple of weeks. It's kind of like flip-flopped where it's like they were allowing so much, through on the ground, and now it's like it's flipped, and now they're allowing a lot through the air. So I don't know if they try and shut down that run game. I do like LaShawn McCoy as like an RB2 this week, so but there's always a chance that Andy Reid just kind of goes back to Damian Williams. So there's enough risk there with LaShawn McCoy where I'm going to go with Marvin Jones. Sorry guys, throat is apparently had enough. Let's see. Golden Tate, Brandon Cooks, Kenny Stills, or Sony Michel, sit 1 full PPR. Oh no, I literally, it went down. I'm sorry. All I remember seeing is Kenny Stills, Golden Tate. So I'm going to say Golden Tate of those. So I can narrow out Kenny Stills for now. Adam asks, good morning, Tags. Good morning. Standard scoring pick 1, Mike Williams. I'm sorry, Adam. There's so many players there. Try and narrow it down. Rick asks, Marvin Jones or Mike Williams. I'd play Marvin Jones. Even if Keenan Allen was inactive, Mike Williams' matchup doesn't change very much. He should get a higher target floor, sure, but I'll take Marvin Jones. Hey, Mike, Kirk or OBJ, PPR. I'm going to go with Odell there. Kirk coming off that multi-week injury. I do like Kirk in this matchup. I think it's a fantastic spot for him. He was targeted more than Larry Fitzgerald when he was in the lineup, but I can't play him over Odell. And for what it's worth, guys, I have Odell as a wide receiver 2 this week, so it's not like I'm high on him, but it's just I can't start questionable options that I don't have guaranteed production out of. Hey, Tags, great show. Thanks, man. Pick 2 standard, Robbie Anderson, Hardman, Jeffrey. When you say Jeffries, I'm guessing you mean Alshon Jeffrey because a lot of people do that. I don't really like any of these options, to be honest. Robbie Anderson, I've talked about the concern with him. Hardman is he's going to need a big play to kind of go off. And knowing they have Matt Moore under center, obviously there's a less chance of that. Alshon Jeffrey, brutal matchup. I mean, if I had to pick 2 of those guys, I guess I'll go Alshon Jeffrey, hope for the touchdown, and Robbie Anderson. But I'm not excited about it. Randy asks, standard Gore or Henderson for the flex. I kind of want to say Darrell Henderson now that Malcolm Brown is out. Darrell Henderson's probably locked into 10 to 15 touches in this game, and if that happens, it's like he could outproduce Gore. Gore's not like we're worried about. One, the matchup's terrible. Like against Philadelphia, team like running backs just don't gain yardage against them. I want to say that the number was like 58 yards. Outside of Ezekiel Elliott, no running back is top 63 yards against them this year. So it's been pretty tough sledding for running backs against them, especially one that's in a timeshare with Devin Singletary. So yeah, I'd probably go with Henderson, to be honest. Stomping Grounds, Game Shop, pick 2, PPR. All right, there's way too many there. Kenny Stills or DJ Chark, half PPR. I would go DJ Chark in that situation. He's the number 1 there, where Stills might be the number 3 option in the passing game. 2 at best. What's up, Drew? Start Wentz and stash Sammy Ghost, or sit Wentz and stream Tannehill and hope I get Darnold off waivers during the week. Yeah, I would 100% sit Wentz and stream Tannehill. Good morning, Derek. Half PPR need to Brandon Cooks, Calvin Ridley, David Montgomery. So David Montgomery is going to be in the lineup for me. And then I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks. So the reason I'm going to do this is because Montgomery, the Bears have talked about running the ball all week. And it just so happens that the Chargers are without 2 of their starting defensive tackles. They might be without Melvin Ingram. We don't know if he's going to play or not. He's missed a couple weeks. I don't know. Can I get an update on that? Is Melvin Ingram playing? their defensive end, because they've been better with him in the lineup, but still, it's a good matchup for David Montgomery in a game they want to run the ball. Brandon Cooks matchup much better than Calvin Ridley's. Ridley lines up on the side of Shaquille Griffin quite a bit. He has Matt Schaub throwing on the ball. Yeah, I'll go with Cooks and Montgomery there. Keenan Allen, MVS, AJ Brown, half PPR. I'm going to go with Keenan Allen there. I'm not going to, I'll play Keenan Allen over those guys. Like, again, if I'm sitting Keenan Allen, it's for someone that's guaranteed production, and those guys are not it. AJ Brown's a decent play, but he's not guaranteed anything. Jason asks, Brandon Cooks or Chase Edmonds? I would go Chase Edmonds for sure. Andy asked, DJ Chark or John Brown? DJ Chark for sure. Tom asked, Alex Erickson, Tyrell Williams, Robert Woods. Is that a question? I mean, it's Robert Woods of those guys for sure. That's who I would go if that's the question. All right. Jason says, got my primer t-shirt. Woohoo! Thanks, Jason. Thanks for supporting the article, man. And again, if you guys haven't seen the primer, and if for whatever reason I did not get to your question during this show, I am sorry. I'm trying to answer as many as I can. I'm losing my voice. But if you guys still have questions after this, all you got to do is type in Fantasy Pros, the primer, and I write a paragraph on every player from every game to try and help you guys with those decisions. And you'll hear a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about on the show. But Auden Tate, John Brown, or Curtis Samuel in a full PPR. Ingram practiced fully on Friday, which puts him on track to play versus the Bears. He's still questionable. They have not. Okay, we should have the inactive active list, so I'm guessing he's probably going to play. But going back to your question, I might go with John Brown there and hope for that one big play, because if it's wind gusts, it might not be a constant wind, and just hope for that big play. Because Auden Tate, it's not a great matchup now that Jalen Ramsey is there. We don't know if Ramsey is going to shadow, Tyler Boyd, because he might just stick on Auden Tate, who's been seeing tons of targets. It's really tough to say. I'd probably go with John Brown there. It is an awesome matchup. It's just a question of like how much they can get the ball down the field. Let's see. Roderick asked, Carson or Edmonds PPR? Carson. Yeah, Carson. Carson's a top 5 play. Jonathan asks, David Montgomery or Larry Fitzgerald PPR? That's tough. That's really tough. I want to say David Montgomery. I really do. I mean, Fitzgerald is a safe play, but he doesn't offer much of a ceiling. Like, he hasn't presented a ceiling in fantasy football leagues this year, and that's the concern, right? Where it's like, if you get the floor, we should have the floor with David Montgomery, because if the Bears talk about running the ball, Matt Nagy has made it clear to the team apparently this week that they're going to run the crap out of the ball, and they should be able to against LA. So I'm going to go Montgomery there. Good luck. Jet, Cole Beasley, Robbie Anderson, or MVS? Let's go with, oh man, I kind of want to say Beasley. I think he comes with the safest floor. I don't think any of them are great options, but I'll say Beasley. Ali asked Hunter Henry or Evan Ingram PPR. Evan Ingram for sure. That's my choice. Should I drop Ty Johnson to pick up Montgomery off waivers? I mean, there's nobody else you could drop. There has to be somebody else you could drop, but you should grab Montgomery if he's available. Absolutely. I probably would start Montgomery over Ty Johnson this week. It's close, but it's really close. But yeah, I probably would. Metcalf or Jeffrey? I would play Metcalf. Hey Mike, start 2. Connor, Carson, or Latavius? Thanks as always. All right, Nick. It's going to be Carson for me, and this one's tough. I think I have to go with Connor. It's just a little bit safer. I'm gonna pull up my rankings just to be sure. I always hate like saying something and then like my rankings say something different. I don't ever want that to be the case. Yeah, I would go Connor and Carson there. I have James Conner as number 6. I have Latavius number 8. So I think they're all playable. I mean, hopefully you can get somebody in the flex or something. Let's see, MVS or Mike Williams? I'd go Mike Williams. At least he's getting targeted. Tailored Productions. The questions on here blow my mind sometimes. Most of them are a waste of... Okay, don't be mean. I'm not going to answer that because that was extremely mean of you. Be nice, all right? Be nice. Mike Evans or Golden Tate? Mike Evans. Hey, Tags, loved your site and get a handle on fantasy. Thanks, Ben. Brandon Cooks or Golden Tate in half PPR. Tate's the safer play. If you're looking for a floor, go with Tate. If you're looking for a ceiling, I think it's Cooks. Yeah, it just depends on what you're looking for. I think I'd probably go Cooks because he should have somewhat of a floor against Cincinnati, but the ceiling's probably worth it to go Cooks. Ronnie Price asked Mixon or A.J. Brown. It's crazy that we have to ask these questions, right? Again, A.J. Brown's not a proven producer. I do like A.J. Brown as a top 40 wide receiver this week, but I don't think I'd play him over Mixon. Believe me, it's close. It's closer than it should be. It's really close. But knowing it's a standard, I think Mixon has a better shot at a touchdown. Josh Jacobs or T.Y. Hilton? Josh Jacobs, as long as he's playing. DJ Moore, Kenny Stills, Calvin Ridley, full PPR. Thanks, mate. Let me see here. I would go Stills of the bunch. Stills should see 5+ targets. DJ Moore is probably locked into that as well. I don't dislike DJ Moore this week. Calvin Ridley, it's not a really good matchup against Seattle, and knowing that he's got Schaub throwing in the ball, it's enough to lower him into low end wide receiver 3 range. I guess I'd probably go Stills of the bunch there. He tags Keenan Allen or Singletary, flex PPR. I would go with Keenan Allen for sure. Devin Singletary, even though that he's playing, he's very, very limited in his touches, and the Eagles are like one of the best teams in the NFL on a per touch basis in terms of like stopping running backs. So it's not a good matchup. He needs like a big play to happen, and it's like to rely on that is tough. Let's see, DJ Chark or Kenny Stills. Oh, that's Chark for me. I like Chark quite a bit. Let's see. I need a defense, special teams, Packers or Lions. Let's go with the Lions defense. I mean, Daniel Jones has been turning the ball over quite a bit. The part that I don't like is that they're without Darius Slay, but they've been playing good enough where I'll take the Lions here. Eric asks, standard, pick up Parker, Robbie Anderson, Demaryius Thomas, or Walton. Final spot on the bench. I mean, Robbie Anderson, the chance that he's traded, I'd probably grab him. That's what I would probably do. If you need running back help, Mark Walton, obviously, because I do expect Kenyon Drake to be. I expect Kenyon Drake to be traded at some point. I don't know when that's going to happen. Melvin Ingram is playing. Thank you for the heads up, Gary. Appreciate that, man. Full PPR, Kirk or Corey Davis. I would go Corey Davis. We know he's healthy. Not coming off a multi-week injury. Good matchup. Brissett or Carr, I'd play Carr. It's very rare that I play Carr confidently, and I'm not even going to say that I'm playing him confidently this week, but I do know that Jacoby Brissett has a brutal matchup against Denver. It's not a good matchup for him. It's a better matchup for Marlon Mack. They should keep the ball on the ground this week. Paul Swaggy asks, Mike Williams, Alshon, or McKissick? I'd go Mike Williams. I think he has the best shot at a touchdown. So the Bears secondary between Prince Mukamara and Kyle Fuller, they haven't been very good. They've been burned by route runners, and Mike Williams is not really that, but he is a touchdown guy where it's like he can sky over. He can get 8+ targets. He has seen double-digit targets in 2 of the last 3 games. Let's see. Benjamin asks, standard, Stills or Alshon? I would play Stills. Kirk or Coleman PPR? I'd play Tevin. Just the guaranteed touches with running backs. Chris asks, Fitz or Cooks? I would go with Fitz. I just think he's safer. The ceiling is definitely higher with Cooks, but you're getting a much higher floor with Larry Fitzgerald. Greg asks, standard pick 2, Evan Ingram, Darren Waller, or Matt Breida? Ingram is for sure going to play, the one of them. And do we want to go Waller? Yeah, I think I'm going to go Ingram and Waller here. I mean, again, Breida is probably locked into that 13 to 17 touches, which is really difficult to pass up. Man, you know what? Okay, we'll go Ingram and Breida. We'll do that. It just scrolled down. I'm sorry. I missed where I was at. Let's see. PPR flex, Waller or Edmonds? Play Edmonds. Again, if you can get the guaranteed touches at running back, guys, like that's my advice that I give every single week. So I hope that you guys have paid attention as we go on. Like if you're really torn in a decision in your flex and it's between a running back and a wide receiver and it's really close where you're just like, I'm so torn, always take the guaranteed touches. There's only a few wide receivers that we can say that about that have guaranteed touches, and a lot of those guys aren't in the flex conversation. All right, I'm just going to take a couple more before we get out of here, guys, because obviously I got to set my lineups, fix all my rankings, and do all that fun stuff. Alshon or Christian Kirk? That might be a spot where I'd actually play Kirk. The matchup's terrible for Alshon. It's not really good. It's touchdown or bust for him. With Matt Ryan out, what quarterback do you pick up for at least 2 weeks, possibly more? I mean, Carr... I play Tannehill this week, and I would stream it. You could pick up a different quarterback next week, but I'd play Tannehill this week. Ray asks, flex Edmonds, Derrick Henry, or Galladay, half PPR. Why are you not playing Kenny Galladay as your wide receiver? That's so difficult. I mean, I have to choose Chase Edmonds of this bunch because he's locked into the 20 touches, but Kenny Galladay should be in your lineup this week. Keenan Allen just listed as healthy and a go, him or Calvin Ridley. I'd probably play Keenan Allen. Ridley's no guarantee for production this week with Matt Schaub under center. Thank you guys, seriously. And if you guys are here, please do me a favor, click that like button. It really does help me out, helps the channel out. We want to grow it. We want to do more of these videos, and we actually do 3 videos actually. So click the subscribe button if you haven't already, because on Tuesday we do a waiver wire show. That's me and Bobby. And then on Thursday, Bobby does a start or sit show. And then I obviously do this every Sunday. So if you click that, get notifications, all that fun stuff, you guys won't miss out on anything. Thank you again for making this an awesome Sunday. I wish you guys the best of luck in your Week 8 matchups. But until next time, lights out.